All right, I want to let you know that this is NRP Radio. You're tuned to the station online, which reaches you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations whatsoever. We thank you so much for keeping it locked right here on this station. It's now 4 minutes after 9 o'clock in the nighttime. This is what we're about at this time of the night. Hello, NRP listener. All right, we are standing by for that. Let's put this in and just want to remind you that we are on live 24 hours per day, 365 days per year. Of course, it is the station that reaches out to all of you across the world. And we've decided that on an evening like this, we're going to be indulging in some discussion as it relates to what's happening in our election. It's the NRP Election Watch. Listen to this. Hello, NRP listeners. Join us on Election Day for the NRP Election Watch. Here the panelists review the debates, look at the voter turnout, and give you the latest box by box and constituency by constituency count. Yes, it's an election like never before. Tune in on YouTube and Facebook at NRP Media JA and on our radio platform at nrpmediaja.com, connecting you with our partners in the diaspora, KVRN Network and Gospel Expression Radio, NRP Radio and NRP Media, reaching you where you are, no boundaries, no limitations. Good evening to you. My name is Leon Nash. I'm the founder and CEO at NRP Radio and NRP Media. It is indeed a pleasure to have all of you on board this evening. And joining me in the Zoom room, we do have a few other persons who are going to be talking with us this evening with their cameras open. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen and ladies. Here we are for our NRP Election Watch. Over now to my attorney friend and our co-host for this panel discussion tonight as we focus on the upcoming election. You know that tomorrow is Tuesday. It's the day before the day when Jamaicans will go to the polls to elect a new government. The outgoing government of the Jamaica Labour Party, led by the Honorable Andrew Holness, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness. They are going up against none other than Mr. Mark Golding of the People's National Party and his team, as well as we have the Jamaica Progressive Party, JPP, that is out there, and other independents. We have with us this evening, I almost said Dr. Anne-Marie Bishop. Welcome, and take us through.
Good night, Mr. Nash. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome.
I'd like to welcome Joshua Dwyer and Dr. Philbert Emil to our first in our series of discussion that will end on September 3rd on Election Day as we bring you election coverage 2025. So I'm Anne-Marie Bishop, attorney at law. Welcome to all our listeners and to all our viewers who are joining us on our social media platform. I'll allow our panelists, starting with our newest panelist to the NRP family, Joshua Dwyer, to introduce himself. Go ahead, Mr. Dwyer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. As mentioned, my name is Joshua Dwyer, entrepreneur, avid Kiwanis. I'm the well, my upcoming role will be Lieutenant Governor for my division. So my thoughts and disposition will predominantly be where the children and the community is concerned. So I hope I can contribute well enough to the cause. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you for that introduction. And indeed, the children are our future. And as we approach Vision 2030, let's analyze and see what both parties are saying about the future of Jamaica. Over to you, Dr. Emil.
All right, so good evening to you, Madam Co-host and co-host and host, as well as Sir
Good evening and
Dwyer.
welcome, sir.
It's good to be joining you in this series of discussion relative to election watch. I am Dr. Emil, counseling psychologist. I think that is enough for now.
Right. Welcome. We appreciate.
Thank you both for the introduction. We really appreciate it. And thanks again for taking the time out to be here. First of all, we apologize for the late start and we hope to be on time. We had some challenges earlier, hence why we're starting at this time. But we won't be long. We'll just examine two main things. We will start by taking your respective comments, if you have any, as it relates to the election debates. I'll allow Mr. Nash to share a summary of all three, if you can, Mr. Nash, and then we can comment and give our views. But Dr. Emil, at some point in the discussion, we'll ask you to look at the psychology of voting by us Jamaicans.
Indeed.
Okay.
This evening, as we said, we're looking at the election. This is our NRP contribution to what's happening around us in Jamaica, the NRP Election Watch. On just recently, we had the first set of debate taking place, looking at social issues across Jamaica, and we had teams of from the Jamaica Labour Party. The two main political parties are the ones that have been involved in the discussion, and they were looking at social issues, and that took place a couple of days ago. That one, went up for many persons. They thought that the Jamaica Labour Party won, and the one side is saying that the People's National Party won, and who did better at it. That is what they were about. I'm not going to be so much weighing in on making a determination as to who would have won, but what was the focus of that particular one? It was on social issues affecting Jamaicans. Then the second one was done again with the both political parties a couple of days afterwards, and that also focused on looking at economic issues. And there's where you had the People's National Parties, the representatives from both sides, looking at those economic issues, and also from the Jamaica Labour Party. Then we came down to the final one in terms of the two leaders, the leadership, contest, Mr. Golin and the most honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister. They dealt with just about all national issues as much as they could. And so that's what happened in the past couple of days leading up to where we are tonight. That's as much as I would say on that issue. I will, in the interim, while the discussion is going on, try to see if we could pull up a video or two of some of the contributions that both sides would have made, in terms of the three debates that they've had so far.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nash. I'll put it out to Dr. Emil and Mr. Dwyer. What are your social issues, if any, that you would consider relevant at this time? And also, did either party address the real social issues that Jamaica is having at this time? Any gentleman, feel free to any one of you can take that question.
The social issues, well, the ones that I have observed and based on the takeaways, I mean, if you see the analysis on the streets where persons are commenting on this, it really seems like a sideshow. I don't think anyone got a full picture as to even the topics that they brought up. No one actually had a good picture of what was really happening around them. I mean, the majority of the persons who dial into these things are not the ones making the comments, and they are not the ones being directly affected. And that is part of the issue that I have, because the persons who are on the other side of this political weapon, if you wish, they, in my view, they haven't had a voice just yet. Short of them blocking the road and cursing politicians individually and weighing in because of their historical preferences, I don't see where anything has been laid down in a serious way for them to benefit. So that's my view and opinion on that.
What are some of the social issues you may have as a young person at this time?
Young person, I love that. It's a piece of it, really, because as you can well imagine, my focus in my charity space is really to get into the communities and basically balance the benefits, and persons who are coming out of school kind of have a predefined pathway to whatever it is that they choose in life. There was one particular community that I'm connected with that one of the greatest cries from the pastors and the leaders in the community is that year over year, the youth don't have any options for self-care. They don't know how to get into business for themselves, and some of them don't even know what that looks like. So it's almost as if they are trapped, and whatever it is that happens within the walls of those communities take precedence or lead or guide their decisions, and it's never anything that makes a national difference. So that is where my concern really is rooted.
So you're suggesting, Mr. Dwyer, that despite the fact that we have the hard trust NSTA, the hard program, and other social intervention programs, you're suggesting that in some communities there is not enough option available to young persons?
Correct. Most of these communities, when I sit and I lament over it, I see these communities existed in the shade. I wouldn't say that Portmore or certain communities closer to Kingston exist in the shade. There are some communities that are nestled within mountains, and there are issues there, and these young people believe that they have to escape that space to even have a chance. So when all of them escape and leave that community to dwindle because they are not going back there to rebuild, they're going somewhere, they're escaping to make life somewhere else. It creates a different kind of a problem.
Understood. Mr. Nash, you want us to go to the video that you have on screen at this time before we ask Dr. Emil to
No, you could
give
continue
his
the
input?
discussion. You could continue the discussion. I'm basically just showing you some of the representatives that first did the debate from the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party side. So you can continue with the discussion. I'll just show their images while we continue.
Before I go to Dr. Emil, Mr. Dwyer, I can appreciate the point you made about young persons trying to find an escape route, so to speak, in certain communities. And I think you're perhaps speaking of mostly rural communities, or you can correct me You're muted.
Yes,
Good.
deep in the rural areas.
Do you think the lack of options available to young persons in our society, regardless of who is in power, when you look back at the last 15, 20 years, has contributed significantly to scamming or increase in crime or bullying in schools or truancy, other social issues that we have, we are seeing in the past 15, 20 years?
100%. 100%. The forward movement of anything, good or bad, takes the route of least resistance. So if these young people are looking for a way out, a way to afford that which they consider valuable, if scamming is easier for them, scamming is what's going to happen. If education is lauded over quick fixes and intelligence becomes the currency, then people would seek after these things. But that's not what is being showed to them. That's not what is being demonstrated to them. That's not what is being waved before them. This carrot that is before them is not what the country needs.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dwyer. I'll come back to you shortly. Dr. Emil.
I'm here.
Yes. What are the, did you get a chance to listen to the first debate on the social issues in its
I
entirety
think
or partly?
I think I listened to a part of the first debate,
Yes.
and there are a lot of conversation in that debate as to who won. That is for another forum. But for me, as it relates to social issue, is the expression of the dysfunctionality that exists in the home, and that dysfunctionality, the way it expresses itself in crime and violence, and the population that is involved. I hear Sir Dwyer talk about the youth in crime, and that is sort of where my headspace is, because what you find is that we're losing a lot of the next generation to crime, and I dare say that a big part of it is the dysfunctionality in the homes, and I'm yet to see a structured approach from the government as to a pathway that would lead young people into a more productive or progressive ideological thinking, where they see themselves different, they see education as a pathway out rather than see scamming or the gun or something else as a pathway out. I think that is left to be seen, and how we craft that, how we design it, and more so how we sell it so that there can be a greater buy-in is what we are looking forward for. At least that's what I'm looking forward for, to see how whichever party forms the next government, or we can reshape society back to a path where education is something that persons see, or young people see, as a way out of poverty, a life envelope in education for future engagement. So that is sort of my take.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emil, and I would want to agree with the comments you have made, because the reality is we are losing the next generation, and the COVID pandemic did not help, and the lessons that we should have learned, we've seen that we did not learn it, and we have not put much in place to address the issues coming out of the pandemic. And it's so relevant that you brought up the issue of parenting, because the breakdown of the home, therein lies the problem that we are experiencing now, post-pandemic, about 4 years or so. We have been about 3.5, 4 years, correct? since the pandemic, but I've not seen or heard anything, and I'm willing to say this entirely without prejudice. I'm not seeing where there's a clear plan of action, a proactive approach by either party as it relates to addressing social issues that include how do we take a proactive approach to education in our society at this time. Mr. Nash?
Well, you may get a pushback from the parties on that, because I can recall that the opposition spokesman on education had put on the table a proposal to extend school days by some hours, paying the teachers for the time that they would have been there. So those are some of the things that they have put on the table that I can recall. I can't recall the position that had been taken by the Ministry of Education for its part. The minister had indicated that they're going to be treating with the lunch support for students in underprivileged institutions, who, because of the lack of lunch and money available to the parents, that they were not able to go to school, so they were going to be providing lunch for hot meals for the students who are coming from underprivileged homes. I think both parties had something to do with that. Either it's going to be a full week or it's just going to be 2 days out of it. So I think there is some emphasis being placed on education in that particular era. But I also want to point out that I did hear Matthew Samuda from the Jamaica Labour Party speaking to the accessibility to water, a very precious commodity, to Jamaicans. He alluded to that. And then the Minister of Labour, Pernell Charles Jr. there, also had indicated regarding the whole matter of the path benefits that the government would have been looking at. And then to hear the Prime Minister coming down to the end of the campaigning season just on the weekend here, speaking to the whole matter of how much should be paid to persons earning minimum wage, tells me that they have their ears somewhere listening to the plight of the people on both sides. They do have proposals that are worthy to research. I'm not too sure that they have been really tested, but I think that they have researched and have presented them to the voting populace in terms of considering which team that they should join going up to Wednesday.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. And I'll revisit one of the issues that you raised, the issue of education.
Yes.
It is not enough for either party or the party that made the proposal to speak about extension of time. And I will go out on a limb to say Dr. Emil is likely to agree with the statement I'm about to make. It's not about the length of time in terms of education, longer hours. It is about the quality of education and the child's mental health. For me, 5 days is too much. And also, because we now have the virtual space, you can have a hybrid school system, especially in communities or in regions of Jamaica that need it. Children are first to say maybe third or second form, 16, 18 subjects. The children are mentally exhausted, and some of the time they're not the ones doing the homework. It's AI or the parents or another sibling or relative. We are talking about longer hours per day, but the root of the problem is not being addressed. We're just putting Band-Aid on a cut. We're not being proactive. A lot of children in schools cannot read, and they go through high school, finish fifth form, and they still can't read. And you have many fancy programs, but how effective, when the evaluation of the programs are done, how effective are they? Mm-hmm. Teachers are complaining of being underpaid, overworked, stress. So are the children, so are the parents. But Dr. Emil want to say something, so I'll yield to my learned senior as a psychologist. Go ahead, Dr. Emil.
Yeah, I'm in support of the point you're making, 100%, and in support of it to the point where I must recognize here that when you look at the kids and when you look at the level of stress and trauma a number of these kids are going through, and not just at a particular socio-economic level, but at all levels. And you find that with that level of stress and trauma, the brain or certain aspect of the brain, especially the aspect concentrated on learning and memory, which is the hippocampus, shrinks when person are traumatized or depressed, and it makes learning very, very difficult. It retards the learning process. And so what you find is that if it is that there's a more deliberate or intentional approach to this sort of social structure or framework or social default or dysfunctionality, I think then the society can start to move, because I don't think there's any lack of intellectual capacity. But I think that the kids are traumatized. The teachers are overworked. They are traumatized too. Because when they come into this traumatic environment, it affects their ability to deliver and to deliver quality education. So we are challenged there. And I think that is where the government need to, if you are going to change a society, you change the educational structure. So I think that is where the government needs to place a lot of emphasis. And I hear the Ministry of Education or the Minister of Education talking up a storm. I am still yet to see that meaningful engagement in terms of policy directive, from a governance structure perspective.
I agree with you 100%, Dr. Emil. There, over time, we're engaging more talks than action, and that's a challenge for me as a parent. In terms of where, if you're not a hands-on parent and present in your child's life throughout their primary, early childhood, high school education, your child may be left behind. That's just a reality. Over to you, Mr. Dwyer, with your comments, whatever it is, whether it's on education or any other social issue.
I just want to add, because my mind been bouncing around on the walls that yourself and Dr. Emil threw up a while ago in terms of the trauma. I think that the trauma that we're referring to is not so much on the child, but more so on the system that they're subjected to. Here why I say this. I've been spending a lot of time with the children, and in a recent, as a couple of days ago, my organization hosted a treat for some children, and I was exposed to a bunch of students in around about grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. And these are the formidable years, because these are the years that they're doing exams every 3 months, preparing for PEP, and the parents are up at nights with them doing projects. And these students are, for no other term which is appropriate, they are resilient. They have become competitive to the point where they are now aware and intelligent enough to know that the system that they're in is a tough one to navigate. So they have put their shoulders to the wheel. What has made it difficult is the clearing of the roadblocks. One particular young child, by stroke of sheer luck and the good Lord's intervention, she was able to get, at the end of the whole project, she was able to get a full school bag of supplies and books and pencils and all that bag of stuff she got. And as I was walking back with her to her parents in the rain, she spoke out loud. I don't think she knew that I was beside her, because she was saying, okay, I got my shoes, I got my uniform, I get all my books. All I need now is my textbook, I'm gone. This girl is going into grade 5. She is not the best of all of them, but she is aware of her situation. What we need to appreciate is that these children are aware of what's going on, and their reasoning ability to be able to take on challenges is far more than we were exposed to when we were going to school 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The point I'm making is the system that we have to evaluate these children and knowing what they are capable of, we don't have that. So whereas we could be getting a yield tenfold from them, this old and archaic methodology of managing our education system and turning out good minds and great individuals need to be overhauled. We have the money. We spending the bare minimum on what we have, because the bare minimum is what a 30-year-old and a 35-year-old system requires. If we invest in what is required for what these children are capable of, we'll find that the money that we're spending on crime, 10 years from now, we don't have to be spending that, because these are geniuses that we are raising. The reasonability and the understanding of these children is far more than what we think it is. We're just not giving them credit enough for what they're capable of. The teachers are still being taught the old way. 1 and 2, there are a few sparks in the education system who are doing things differently, because somehow they got a group of kids that cause them to think differently and think outside of the box. And these children, because they're exposed to a different methodology, shine. And you think that the teacher is great. No, the children are the ones who are soaking up all of these new things, a new way of thinking, and the technology of thought is being levied upon them, and they're shining. I think we should look into elevating our thought processes, because there are countries in the world that is doing far better than what we are doing with children at 5 and 6 year old. The Asian countries, Japan, Korea, all of the Middle East, the eastern side of the world, they have taken a different approach to education, and by extension, the crop of citizens that they have after that is far more capable of growing the country without any great amount of force. So I think we should look back at our measuring stick and what is it that we're expecting, and elevate even our expectations for these children. They're more than capable.
Thank you, Mr. Dowayo. I'll go ahead, Dr. Emil, with your response. I know you're very experienced as an educator, and we like your feedback as well, Mr. Nash.
I want to disagree with you slightly though, Sir Dwyer, and on one of the points you made. I agree with you in a number of areas, but I want to disagree with you. I think the teachers having taught the teachers all the way up to the PhD level. I want to say that teachers now are more equipped with technical skills to do a better job in the classroom than the older teachers. What they do is that they lack the sort of commitment that the older teachers had. And the level of frustration, I think when you look at, because one of the thing I did a research on a couple of years ago was look at the different teaching models for successive countries, like for example, Finland, which was and I think still is in the top 5 in terms of education ranking in the world. So we looked at that, and one of the things we found was that how they design their education structure. So, for example, at the time when I looked at the literature for early childhood education, you need a master's level. That was entry, a master's level degree, and it tells you as to the value that they place on education. When our system can get to the place where, because we are not short on knowledge, wherever our students go, they excel, they do very well, they come out at the top. So we are not short of it. Our teachers are good teachers. I started a PhD 2 years ago, a second PhD 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Dr. Bishop, you can catch me up. 2 or 3 years ago, right? In educational leadership. I stopped because I wanted to do a second PhD in neuropsychology. But the fact of the matter was that the US government was pumping money into a US university to benefit Jamaica because of their recruitment drive to get teachers from Jamaica. So they were pumping money into a particular university to educate. The PhD was being offered for $550 per course, and that is cheap. That's a master's level money or less. So the fact of the matter is, when our system, as you said, Sir Dwight, when our system can really look and harness the potential, the resources that we have, and tunnel that into something that can characterize a future where persons start to see education as the most meaningful exit from poverty and inner city life or any form of life anywhere on the planet. I think when we can get there from a government perspective or a governance perspective, which is going to shape policy directive, then we are onto something. And that is sort of one of the things that we need to throw at our leaders so that they can understand that the society is expecting meaningful change, and we know where that change should come from. So it's not that we are airy-fairy. We know where it should come from, and we understand clearly that they are placed there to deliver those changes.
Thank you, Dr. Emil. And indeed, the society should demand, and we do demand from either party and both parties, meaningful change, not superficial, fancy comments in the heat of the campaign, but changes that will be meaningful, impactful, and we can see the benefits of those changes in 5, 10, 15 years' time. Go ahead, Mr. Nash.
I heard my president, and he would have been, if I'd thought of it, I would have invited him over here this evening for us to have a discussion as we look at the education product in terms of Jamaica. And I heard him to say today that as it relates to education, that the teachers of Jamaica have been doing a significant amount of great job. As it relates to their effort. But their effort sometimes is not looked at in the way that it ought to have. We know from time to time that there are failures, and that is being addressed, on different fronts across in terms of professionalism, in terms of output, and how people really take seriously the job that they are doing. And that is being done. But I think that more could be done to assist the process, in terms of the output. Because when you look at the status, the state of some schools, you judge everybody based on what you expect of them. But yet still the facilities in which the learning is taking place is not conducive sufficiently to assist that particular learning. But yet still at the end of the day, you expect all these students to be put up for PEP. You're expecting them to matriculate from the primary school to go to the secondary and so on and so forth. But the facilities differ. You have professional teachers, you have good teachers, and they're working hard with these children. But if your mental faculties are not fully in place, if your nutritional support is not there, if the facilities in which you are sending the children to learn in is not conducive to that learning, because you can be prepared to go to school to want to learn. But when you get to that institution, the facility does not assist you because you're there and God, the heat, chichi dropping down from the roof, you're just perplexed in so many different ways. And that is what we're having in the system right now. And so we're talking about the output and saying that, boy, I hear the minister to say recently that they had a certain level of pass and that it has improved over time. Thank God. But the emphasis, and I heard her to come around to speak to the fact that all of these successes that we are experiencing is not mainly because of the ability of the children. It's because of the teachers and starting to stress, because from the JTA's perspective, the JTA has been pushing to say, look here, you're talking about the success. What about the people who are doing the work and doing it under very serious situation? People have to be assisting children to ensure that their nutritional level and support is there. So there are many variables, but I want to think based on the question that you've asked, has either party properly addressed the issue? I don't think that at the skirt around most of the time. Most of the time, that's what they do. They go around and they treat with the things that are in their mind important, in my mind, right? And the things that are supposed to be. Can you imagine that at the early childhood level of the education system now is the least amount of attention, and everybody paying attention to the top, and the foundation is not being attended to. This is a serious indictment.
Very valid point, Mr. Nash.
Serious indictment in our country.
And Dr. Emil will tell you from a counseling psychologist perspective, and as a counselor in training myself, the foundation, which is the early childhood stage, is very critical. Dr. Emil?
Absolutely. Because that is where you lay the foundation. And as I said earlier, when you look at successful models around the world, the entry level at the early childhood is a master's degree. So you recognize that we have the potential, but we are not focused, because how many teachers in the early childhood system have a first degree? How schooled are some of these teachers in phone ecology? And to what extent do they understand these pieces? To what extent do they understand what we call, the thought just slipped me, but attention span? To what extent do we understand attention span and the different forms of attention span and how this affect learning and learning outcomes? How do teachers treat with the whole attention span deficit within the teaching learning process? How is the system geared towards that when you have 30 odd and 40 odd children in one classroom? And it is easier to build a prison than to build a school. Where's the priority? And I hear Sir Nash talk about the whole thing about what the government is saying. And of a fact, I do agree with you, sir, that the participants, they must be lauded as well, because teachers are doing a great job. But a lot of times when the children go to school and you fix them, when they go back home to a dysfunctional home and everything is lost. A big part of learning that we need to see more of is empathy. And it will be surprising when you look at the brain and look at the areas of the brain responsible for empathy, and look at how connected empathy is to learning. And when you look at the level of empathy that is expressed in the classroom, and you know something about it, Sir Nash, and Madam O said, well, the children pick up on the absence of empathy so
Yes. Quickly. Yeah. Excellent point, Dr. Emil.
That is so
We
true, Dr.
approve.
Emil. Thank you for that, for your input where that is concerned. It seems as if Dr. Emil is having
present.
connectivity issue. Go ahead, Dr. Emil.
All right. Hold on, Dr. Emil. Hold on a second.
Madam Moss. Thank you.
Right. So we are having some issues with your connection, Dr. Emil.
Because that's what I was saying. I don't know if it is my internet.
Yes, it's the internet on somewhere. Let's say somewhere. Yes, but you're still there. Maybe if you will just hang on in there, should improve in momentarily. Dr. Bishop?
Thank you. Any further comments, Mr. Dwyer, on the social issue before we move on to the other aspect of the debate?
No, I think we have aired that much. I think Mr. Nash did well to wrap and basically put that into correct perspective, because in all of what Dr. Emil says, we do have the tools, we are ready, but no, we do not have the facilities, the roof over our heads, the good air to breathe, and the water to drink for these good things to matriculate and to
Thank you.
materialize.
Over to you, Mr. Nash.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to take a little break right here now, and just to let you know that you are tuned to NRP Radio and NRP Media. It's our election watch, and we're discussing the issues relating to what happened in the political debates. We dealt with the social issues. We're coming to the economic, and then the leadership, and looking now forward to the 2 days ahead. Stay with us right here on NRP Media and NRP Radio, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations whatsoever. Stay with us right here. We'll soon come back to you, and we've got much more to talk about. Let's take this commercial break.
Listeners, join us on Election Day for the NRP Election Watch. Hear the panelists review the debates, look at the voter turnout, and give you the latest box-by-box and constituency-by-constituency count. Yes, it's an election like never before. Tune in on YouTube and Facebook at NRP Media JA and on our radio platform at nrpmediaja.com, connecting you with our partners in the diaspora, KVRN Network, and Gospel Expression Radio, NRP Radio and NRP Media, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
VW Investments Company Limited, Christiana Main Street, Spaldings, Clarendon. Quick exchange, no hassle, best rates. Call them at 876-964-0604 or 876-964-9370.
Hepburn's Glass Supplies is the latest trend-setting supplier of glass and mirrors in the industry. We specialize in tinted and clear glasses, as well as mirrors for all your windows, doors, and closets at very competitive prices. To maximize your shopping experience, we stock 316 and 1/8 mirror thickness and 316 and quarter thickness in our entire stock of float glasses. We have in stock gloves, cutters, and suction cups at unbeatable prices. Our customer service is second to none, with same-day cutting for your specific measurements. Visit our office at 13 Chisholm Avenue, Kingston 13. Call us at 908-0962 or email hepburn.glass@gmail.com. Hepburn's Glass, quality service is our priority.
And as we make our way back to the discussion at this time, let's go back to our promo as relates to this activity.
Hello, NRP listeners. Join us on Election Day for the NRP Election Watch. Hear the panelists review the debates, look at the voter turnout, and give you the latest box-by-box and constituency-by-constituency count. Yes, it's an election like never before. Tune in on YouTube and Facebook at NRP Media JA and on our radio platform at nrpmediaja.com, connecting you with our partners in the diaspora, KVRN Network and Gospel Expression Radio, NRP Radio and NRP Media, reaching you where you are, no boundaries, no limitations.
All right, over now to our panelists one more time, just to remind you that we are here on NRP Radio and NRP Media, of course, and we've got a telephone number that you can reach out to us if you want to send us a WhatsApp voice note or WhatsApp text, asking a question or posing or making a statement relating to what we're discussing this evening. The number is 876-336-9928. That's 876-336-9928. And for the final time, just reminding, reiterating what I said, 876-336-9928. We take it out now back to our panelists online who are discussing the issue. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Welcome back to Dr. Philbert Emil, pastor, lecturer, trainer of 390 Training Consultancy, educator, lecturer at the Caribbean Graduate School of Theology, counseling psychologist. Thanks again for joining us. And Mr. Joshua Dwyer, entrepreneur, parent, the incoming Lieutenant Governor for Division 24 for Kiwanis clubs within Division 24. Congratulations and thank you for joining us. So we'll now look at the financial issues that was in debate too, and we'll ask Mr. Nash to just give us a brief summary, and then we can move into that discussion. Thank you, Mr. Nash.
All right, so the economic issues were varied as relates to what the both parties were presenting. I'm going to attempt to see if I can bring up. I have something here from the parties as they were online just recently. So I'm going to see if I can get in a portion of, some of the things that they discussed before we move on, and maybe just short snippets, regarding the economic issues that are facing the country, are facing the voters. And this is what they had to say while they had this debate recently. Let's see if we can get in a little bit from what took place.
Julian Robinson. For the JLP, Favour Williams. For the PNP, Keisha Anderson. And for the JLP, Chris Tufton. And for the PNP, Peter Bunting.
So these were the individuals who participated in the debate on behalf of both sides, and they're going to be giving their marching, Yes, or they're giving the instructions rather, as relates to how the debate was going to progress and the questions that were being asked. Let's see if we can get a minute or two in.
For Team PN
components, you have
threshold to $3.5 million starting April 2026 without any new taxes. How much will it cost? Is the timeline realistic? And which programs will be adjusted to accommodate the increase?
Thank you for that question, Andrew. We are committed to implementing the 3.5 threshold starting April 2026. This will be funded from revenue growth, which currently, based on the 1% growth, is projected to generate an additional revenue of $140 billion over a 3-year period. Additionally, we expect within the envelope that exists in the budget has 4 main components. You have debt servicing, you have salaries and wages, you have the capital budget, and then you have the programmatic budget. As a political party, we would have our own priorities, and we will look at the programmatic budget and make adjustments there. but we will begin implementing the 3.5 million threshold April 2026. However, there are other programs that we have announced that once we assume office, we will immediately, within the envelope that exists for programs, see how we will implement them. For example, ensuring that every needy child gets a hot meal per day. The first in family who goes to university to have a full scholarship. And also the $500,000 grant, which will be given to young first-time owners. So we are going to ensure that we do this in a responsible way fiscally without affecting the budget.
Thank you, Team PNP. Thank you, Team JLP, your rebuttal.
Lies, lies, lies. It cannot be done without imposing new taxes on the backs of Jamaicans. Your 3.5 is the biggest political scam since the history of Jamaica. It cannot be done. You were the people who said when we introduced the 1.5 that it couldn't be done. It would wreck the budget. How do you get from 1.5 to 3.5? It's 3.5 now, right? It used to be 2.3, 3.2, all over the place. Can't be done.
So that was one of the biggest talking points of the night between both sides. One coming from 1.5 up to 1.7 or 1.8. They're both the PNP indicating that they would move if they're elected, that they would move up to 3.5. So this is one of the main talking points of the night for both sides, and it's still one of those issues that they are hoping will draw support from the people of Jamaica in terms of whether or not this is a very good move on both parties. Stand by for the time signal. We'll come right back to you.
Those whose spirits have been crushed. This is NRP Media and Radio. The time is 10 o'clock.
All right, so it is 10 o'clock right here on this station, NRP Radio and NRP Media. We are doing some simultaneous broadcasts at this time. And so we are back to the panel online and on YouTube. We are on NRP Media JA and on Facebook Live as well. We do have, we should have at this time joining us the Caribbean Vibes Radio over there in Massachusetts and also Gospel Expression Radio in New York. Back to the team.
Thank you for the short play of last week's debate between the two main political parties. We heard what the PNP said about the 3.5% and what the rebuttal of the JLP is. Lies, lies, lies. It's not possible. What is your take on it, Mr. Nash? Or do you want to play the response, not just the response, but the proposal of the JLP before we comment?
All right, let me go back to that and see if we can. Well, the minister did response, but let me hear. I think she has a
counter proposal, so to speak.
Yes, a counter proposal. Yes, let me see if I can get back to that for you as we come to you live here on NRP Radio and NRP Media. It is all about what's taking place in the political realm leading up to election day. Let's go back to online and hear what's happening there. Okay, here we are now. I think we are there to get this playing once again. Let's go.
All right. Andrew would like to use the first of her two follow-up questions.
From 14 PNP, I did not hear the cost of the proposed increase in the threshold, nor the programs to be readjusted to accommodate the increase.
The cost of the increase in the threshold would be $55 billion. Now, no political party implements every single thing in 1 year. So we are going to ensure that the implementation is done, which protects the fiscal sacrifices that have been made, and will ensure that the adjustments are consistent with the budget. So it's $55 billion that this particular program will cost. And in terms of the readjustment of programs, That is something that we will do once we get into office. When we look, we have priorities which are different from the current government's priorities. And we will make those adjustments within the envelope of $360 billion, which currently exists for programs in the
Thank
budget.
you, Team PNP. Team JLP, you have a rebuttal, 45 seconds.
Well, first of all, I think we have to be careful about what we hear from that side, because they have been flip-flopping on the issue of income tax threshold and for some time. Their leader has said one thing, then he said he wasn't sure, then he said he wants to do another thing. The principle of increasing the threshold is something that is desirable. Let us be clear, because we did it. We were the ones who came with 1.5. We're moving now to 2.0. And indeed, we are the only government that have reduced taxes in several ways to benefit the Jamaican people. The challenge is the practicality of their solution. This is a one-week proposal, a proposal to win
Thank you,
votes,
Team JLP.
which can't work.
Thank you, Team JLP. Al, you get the chance to pose the first question of the evening to Team JLP.
Hello, good evening. How do you do? On Sunday, the JLP promised to reduce income tax to 15% over a phased basis if it secures a third term in government. This is estimated to cost the country around $135 billion. Where will the money come from to accomplish this, considering there is projected to be a $35 billion deficit in the budget, and given that many people work in the underground economy?
I'm not sure where that number came from. Our number, based on the technocrats who did it, put it at between 25 to $30 billion. That's our number. That is doable. We are the party that did the 1.5 in a responsible way. We are the party that moved the threshold from 1.5 to 1.7 to 1.8. Next year it'll be 1.9 and then 2.0. We know how to handle the tax affairs, the revenue affairs of the country, and we are going to move with this in a responsible way over time, ensuring that we continue to give back to Jamaicans. You've seen us do the reverse income tax, you've seen us do a number of initiatives, all with the goal of ensuring that the Jamaican people get back monies in their pockets so that they can provide more for themselves and their families.
This administration has been very much the administration that's pragmatic. We have always said to Jamaica what can be done, and then we have done it. We did it with 1.5, and we're doing it again with 2.0, and also our other proposal in terms of 15% income tax. We never say what we cannot do, unlike our opposition.
Team JLP. Thank you. Team PNP, your rebuttal. 45 seconds.
I want to remind the country that the 1.5 that they boast about cost the country $31 billion in new taxes implemented by the Jamaica Labour Party. The Minister of Finance is saying her estimate is 25 to 30 billion. She's applying the same Pro Box maths that she said you can use $2,000 a month for buy a Pro Box. The most conservative estimate for their program to reduce the income tax rate is $68 billion. So where do you get your maths from? Tell the country, how will you finance it? Which programs will you cut? Where will the money come from?
All right, so you're back with me, and you're all hearing me, right?
Yes, we are hearing you, Sir Nash.
Wonderful, wonderful. So after this, after this debate, it was based on analysts and everybody's review of what took place. It was said that the People's National Party had come out on the better side. Their representatives, Mr. Julian Robinson there, and the others on his side, Peter Bunting, and the other person there, the female. They were organized and had their information, and the proposals were put forward in a forceful way. In a sense, when I watch it, and this is not JLP taking sides now, from the PNP. When I watch the debate, you could see where I'm not too sure that if they were not prepared for the questions or the questions were so forceful that the team JLP had a difficulty responding to the questions that were posed. And as government, you would have thought that they would have had it to be able to go up against the People's National Party team. And that's how I would want is that's how they came by being given the heads up above the Jamaica Labour Party team. That's my assessment of what I saw online. I'm not too sure anybody else saw something differently.
Mr. Dwyer, you seem like in your facial expression, you're eager to respond.
I was about to agree with Anash because I mean you can tell when somebody is financially knowledgeable and can speak numbers and they will speak a little bit more fluently. I remember the last debate that our former Minister of Finance expressed himself, and I was very impressed simply because of how knowledgeable and fluent and connected his thoughts were. And he's correct. The Jamaica Labour Party's team seemed to have been disconnected from thought and probably the plans also.
Thank you for your input. Dr. Emil, I know you're off camera. Are you still with us? But outside, based on the two-side proposal and how they plan to fund what they're proposing, I'm not a finance person, but in real life, how practical is it? For the person earning under 25,000 per week, under 20, under 150,000 per month, are we looking to see another a 10,000 note in a few months? Because the 5,000 really don't really have any value. You go into a restaurant and if you come out with 2,000, you come out with a change. But how practical is the proposal by both parties?
I'm not in a position to do that because I've not done crunch the numbers really. All I'm saying is that what they have been doing throughout the entire debates, in my mind, were just speaking to their bases, right? And to get more of them to go out and to vote for them on election day. That was the basis of why they are, well, you haven't gotten there yet, but this last announcement that the Prime Minister made on the weekend gone here about the moving of the minimum wage, it is geared towards those undecided persons. It's because there's the what is it that they call it now? The latest polls that came out suggest that particular groupings, demographics of individuals were more supporting of a particular party, and therefore there had to be some kind of movement in my mind of what the Prime Minister was attempting to do to ensure that he pulls back this tide that was moving away from the Jamaica Party based on what I've been hearing persons indicating. And he had to make this announcement. I do not, because you see, all along, I was thinking to myself and said, 2 days before an election, you had all these things in the bag, and you've been talking about these levels of achievement as a government that you've had. Why is it that at this point you could not go through on all of these achievements? Then you have to pull something out to excite the electorate and to say, come over here, so it's better for you. I find that a little bit concerning that they would do that. At the same time, the Jamaica Labour Party, the People's National Party rather, this 3.5 is their high tide that they were riding on, and hoping that this would carry them through the finish line. So both of them are throwing, and I would expect, even though campaigning is supposed to be ending at a particular time, that they're going to find a way to still have something somewhere to pull from somewhere to pull, because there's still some undecided people who have not yet made up their minds that even with 2 days to go, that they're going to vote for either of the main political parties. And I'm not too sure how good the JPP representatives have been doing. I had an interview with one of them on the program, and it's just a pity that we don't have enough time to. I would pull up that interview and bring it into the discussion here in terms of what one person up the JPP and hear from that representative who spoke to me here in the studio about what their plans are. But basically what I'm saying in summary is that it is to excite their bases, and it is trying to pull out those few other persons out of the undecided to get them to vote. All of this, not too sure how in reality if these things are going to be implemented.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Dr. Emil, you're back with us? Dr. Emil?
Not hearing him at all.
Well,
He
he's
could probably...
muted. I'm not. Dr. Emil?
Right. Yes, he's opening up.
Yes, we're hearing you. We wanted your input as to the economic/financial debate between the two parties, that the clip that we played.
And he could probably stay off camera for a little bit until we're closing out, to save the bandwidth and use voice alone for the time being.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Emil. Any comments?
I think what both sides are proposing is something that we could look at as something that is needed.
Continue.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Go
yes,
right ahead.
we are. We are hearing you, Dr. Emil.
We're hearing you clearly, sir.
Yeah. So we could say that it is something that is needed. The challenge I have, if I have my wife in the house, why do I need to promise her something because somebody else is promising her? I should be delivering that. And so I have a challenge where that is concerned, as it relates to one political party as against another. But what the country needs now is a meaningful financial instrument that the lower level of society can be brought up to a place where the standard of living is much better for all. And that is what we need to see in Jamaica, where those at the bottom can find it much easier to survive on a day-to-day basis, because that is where, as a society, as a country, we are having challenges. Because when that happens, one of the dark side of it is crime, scamming. All of these pieces are the dark side of that economic reality. Back to you, madam.
Absolutely agree, Dr. Emil. What we don't need is promises and no action, or unrealistic promises that in the moment of the election fever, and I'll relate it to marriage. When you're courting, you're dating, you're so excited about the other person, but you don't really get to know them. And shortly after marriage, you realize that you're not even compatible. I'm just saying. So it's similar to the political relationship. They're trying to encourage the undecided and to keep the ones that may have decided either way. But the country need more than just promises. We need the Jamaican currency is devaluing against the US currency and other major currencies. There's some amount of instability in the economy. We moved from the $1,000 to the $2,000 to the $5,000, and maybe in a short order, we may have a 10,000 hours, because when you spend when you hand over 5,000 hours to be spent and you get back a small change, in no time it come like it just disappear, so to
Exactly.
speak. And that's just a reality. The value of the currency is just not there. You know, and we want real solutions, not glossy, fancy stage talk. Because the reality, as Dr. Emil said, there are several persons at a level in the society that are just below what is even a proper standard of living.
Indeed.
Mr. Dwyer, your facial expression, you know, as a psychologist in training, I've been around Dr. Emil for a very long time. We have to learn to read these expressions.
I emote very easily. My issue is this: now that we have highlighted that this is smoke and mirrors, really, that they're waving that which appeals to us greatest, that's money in our pockets.
True.
How do we keep them accountable? Because they promise X, Y, and Z. Say, for example, they promise it by year 2, and it doesn't happen by year 2. What are the consequences of failure? Because so many times they say they're giving us a horse, they give us 2 donkeys and say, well, you get 2, not 1. And they say we should be grateful. How do we hold these people, these politicians, accountable, and in a meaningful way, that the one that comes in after him, assuming that this one who fails the midst office does better? Because we really have a 50-50 approval rated for everybody every year, every time, every round when the election comes around, because there are rarely any consequences. And the effects of failure, I think I saw where somebody was making some comments that the Jamaica Labour Party has fired so many persons while they're in power, and now we don't talk about their inability of doing of serving. Now they're choosing wrong people. How do we choose these people? How do we hold them accountable? That's the biggest concern for myself, because private sector has that as a metrics. We don't have that politically as a metrics, and I think we are suffering on a much grander scale than any private sector organization that observe these metrics or matrices as cause for dismissal.
Dr. Emil, how do we hold our politicians accountable? Or Mr. Nash, how do we hold them accountable?
Well, in terms
is it that we block road and so we want justice?
Yes, it's that's part of the Jamaican culture. In terms of when sometimes you're speaking and they're not listening, and persons tend to take to the street. You can have peaceful protests to raise
awareness.
Awareness in terms of what is taking place in your neck of the woods. But it's a difficult part, because it's not, even though you're raising the awareness, it might not necessarily bring down a government. And they will be there and they will find all kinds of excuses to tell you why is it that they have not been able to do it. Because we went into government, for instance, and when we went into government, we found out that this is not what the other side said was so. And you have to be, you find all kinds of ways to kind of wiggle your way out of not implementing what you said that you were going to implement. And so it's a difficult challenge for the electors, the people of the country, to really hold them. But if you're in a position of you can put a pressure. I think that the thing that one can do is to keep on pressuring, keep on speaking about the issue until there is a response that meets your demand. I think that is one of the ways in which you could get done. People go about writing in the media. The people go about calling in and speaking about the issues, and using different fora to raise it and to call out a particular government or a particular minister, etc., because of what they've said. And speaking about that in recent times, though it has nothing to do in a great sense to what we're discussing tonight. But recently, I saw a minister of government, going to treat with what was supposed to be a national rollout of some transportation, and after what took place in the religious part of it, then you're going to utilize something else as almost like a ritual. These are the things I'm saying that people, you call them out, but what impact? What impact does it have when you do these things? It's where my mind is not coming together at all.
Mr. Nash, a democracy demands that the politicians are
Yes.
accountable to us, the citizens, right? The voters.
Yes.
And the people, whether you voted or not. But how effective it has been since in Jamaican history in terms of post 1962.
I don't know if it has had any significant impact, because every time when you expected that one government has been doing something and it is not appeasing to the electors, and you expected that when it gets to an election, when an election is called, you're going to say, look here, man, you have not done the first term that you went in there, you did not do what you said you were going to do, then I'm going to speak at the ballot box. You don't find it happening. They find some way to sweeten the pot and say, and come back and say to you that, look here, I know that I didn't do what I had, but give me a chance to do it, because I have made these progress. I've progressed along the line in this particular way. Give me a chance to move on. And because of the low voter turnout at the election time, these are what impact whether or not you move out and move somebody else in. This is what has been happening over time, and it happens on both sides.
So should we consider the manifesto of both parties? Should we consider it a legally binding contract and then take them to court for breaches of said manifesto?
I'm not too sure in Jamaica if we'll ever get anywhere with that.
It would be harder to find a lawyer to represent you.
I'm telling you, maybe somewhere else, but I'm not too sure about in Jamaica, because the wheels of justice in Jamaica grinds slowly.
Yeah, we don't have enough real estate for them to live far enough apart not to be colleagues.
I think it would be easier for a snowball to exist in hell.
That's a bit extreme, Doctor.
And this is coming from Pastor
Whilst I'm
Emil.
contented to agree.
At 25 minutes after 10 o'clock, folks, this is the NRP Election Watch, and we're coming closer and closer to the end, but I have to bring in Owen Byfield online. He is saying that the justice system is the problem. It only holds the less fortunate guilty and leaves the others out of the box, right? There is no country pride, he says, no country pride, as he chips in on that. Anybody wants to take that up, Sister Bishop and the team?
You know, I can appreciate the comment, because a lot of persons have had or have experienced what they consider to be injustice within the justice system. But the justice system, as an attorney, we aim to ensure as best as is humanly possible that justice is not only done, but is seen to be done. And the reality is, sometimes when complaints are made or charges are brought against an individual, as in a criminal matter, if the witnesses are not willing to come forward because of fear or whatever reason, those things affect the delivery of justice. Because at the end of the day, an accused person is innocent until found guilty within a court of law. Okay? So if the police and the prosecutor do their job, and then on the day of trial there's no witness, then what choice does the court have but or the crown but to offer maybe no further evidence? And that's just one example. So the public also have a responsibility to be part of the justice process. In matters that require trial, in criminal matters that require jury trial, we continue to struggle with persons willing to be jurors. I don't quote me on the figure, but I think it's somewhere between 2,000 or 3,000 hours if they actually serve. So they go through the jury list, they attend court, and you may attend, circuit is say 3 weeks in outstation or 4. And you may attend court every day for 2 weeks and your name is not called, or a week. You don't get paid for attending, you get paid if you serve on a jury. I don't think that has changed. And a lot of persons are not willing to be jurors because in our system, there are matters that require trial by a jury, persons of your own peers. So we all have, we should all bear in mind that we are part of the justice system and we have a role to play in the process. So it's good and okay to stand one side and criticize, but every Jamaican citizen should be willing to serve if they're called upon to serve as jurors. And that's one of the challenge we have. And also persons, they see something happening and they're not willing to be part of the report process or be witnesses. And sometimes guilty persons walk, and the reality is that sometimes innocent persons are found guilty.
Indeed.
It's a tricky situation,
Is
but I know that there's been a lot of improvement in the justice system. More needs to be done. There are a lot of, justice reform and so on and so forth. And persons, whenever even acts are being revised, you need to be part of the process. Go to the consultation, go to the town hall meetings, put in your input, let your voice be heard. It doesn't make sense when all of this is going on and then the act come out and you say, oh, I didn't hear about it. I wasn't sure, I don't know. All of the laws of Jamaica are online. Be part of the change process, not just criticize, but you can criticize and criticize constructively, but don't stay one side and throw your hands in the air. And then when the laws are passed and it went through a process, you weren't part of that process. But go ahead, Mr. Dwyer. I see you're eager to say something.
yeah, I'm you're needling me with your legal jargons.
I
The
apologize.
the justice system in any area of where justice is doled out or is expected to prevail has to be paired with integrity and transparency. There's no justice system if you cannot easily identify integrity. For persons to demonstrate integrity in a climate like ours, it requires a deep form of transparency. We hear about these things, but people are not going to come forward to be a part of a justice system that they see working in a different way when it comes knocking at their door. The person who commented online not too long ago I'm inclined to agree, because I think we have more criminal cases than civil cases where people breach their responsibility in certain offices. And it's not until it costs lives to a great extent that you even hear about it. If I see impropriety in, for example, a councillor that has no real qualification to be a councillor, except that it's a popularity vote, exercising impropriety or something that seems wrong in the public eye, there's no avenue for me to bring him to task, except that I will report it and somebody say, well, I saw it go. I saw it always go. And I call a lawyer and a lawyer talk to another lawyer and them say they're going to drop the case because of so on and so forth. There is no accountability even at that level. He doesn't have to be honest. The money that he's spending on supposedly on my behalf, he doesn't have to show the books and show anything to say that he actually did well in spending that money. There was one clip online where I see somebody made a grand announcement online And then another person put out a clip to show that the pipes that he ran in the community has no water in it. Now, whether one person only decided to shoot their video when water gone, or the first one was right in that water was there when he did it the first time, nobody knows except the people who feel it. So the justice system is not, it doesn't go all the way to the end of the track. It stopped for some people and it continues for others. And we do more criminal cases and high profile cases than the little ones that teach the grassroots people that there is a system for them to get right. There's a system that causes them and requires them to walk the straight line, just as you can expect a straight line type of walking for those who we set above us in leadership. So it's not that people don't want to come out to be jurors. They have the justice system just has not introduced itself and proven itself to be worthy.
All right. Well, Madam Bishop, where are we in terms of your lineup?
Repeat that question, Mr. Nash.
And I was asking where are we now in terms of our lineup? We are.
How many minutes we have?
Well, that's why I'm asking you that. All right. We could probably take another 5 and do a wrap.
Okay. Dr. Emil, you're still with us?
Yeah, man, I'm still here, and I was listening to the discussion just a while ago, and I wanted to say that when you look at the psychology of voting, not just in Jamaica but across the Caribbean, you realize that there are certain demographic characteristics that plays a critical part in terms of instructing voter behavior. Like, for example, location within a particular community based on the culture of voting within that community. It is going to be consistent, and persons within that community are going to feel pressured to vote according to the cultural underpinnings as it relates to that particular location. Also, you might find age and education, and job position, which is a critical one, and over probably the past 4 or 5 decades, you might find that this has become more and more ingrained in our political culture, and it influences the behavior, the voting behavior of persons, because persons vote along a particular political line because of the opportunity or expected opportunity that they might think they can get from a particular political system. So what we need to focus on is how is it that we can shift this voter pattern to become more equitable based on things that will develop or drive the development of a broader societal objective. So we are going to vote for road because the road in the community is bad. And this government, and I don't mean this exact one, I'm just saying this government as a part of the English language than the actual reality. This government has not fixed the road for a long period of time, and they have been in power for a long period of time, and they have not fixed the road. So let us vote them out, because the road should be fixed, and we understand how infrastructure help to develop communities. So that is the sort of shift that we want to see coming to the fore. It might be ideological, but I think that is where we need to go, and that is the sort of mindset that we want to see our politicians when they talk. And I hear the opposition leaders speaking about integrity, which is a critical part of changing the direction, and whichever party might form the next government, integrity must be a critical part of the representation of the leadership of the country. I hear Sir Dwyer talk about transparency as well, which is also another critical pillar of the governance structure. So voter behavior and the psychology behind voter behavior must be instructed by the critical things that we need at the home level or the domestic level, at the community level, and at the country level. Back to you, madam.
Absolutely, Dr. Emil. Once we have integrity, we hold our politicians, our leaders, members of the judicial system or justice system accountable, then it is the way forward for us as a country, and it will help us to realize some of the visions that have been set so long ago, which we're fast approaching Vision 2030. Are we likely as a country to achieve any of Vision 2030 goals?
I don't think
Mr.
so.
Dwyer, you're muted. Or is it a fairy tale?
Vision 2030 can easily be Vision 2028, assuming that we know what it looks like. And not what it looks like, because I think they gave us this broad term to live, grow, and raise families and do business and that kind of a thing. Do what kind of business? To what is the measurement of our family, the quality of families, and so on. Somebody need to articulate that in a way that it translates coming up from the grassroots level. When Vision 2030 comes, how does it benefit the lower income, the middle class, and even the upper class persons? What does it look like for businesses? What does it look like for students? Is it a well-oiled machine? These are all the questions we need to ask. So now becomes the measurement of success. Vision 2030, it doesn't have to be a pipe dream. We're not the only ones who have one. How do we set up ourselves now to contribute to even the global economic status? Not just in Jamaica. What does Jamaica look like on the global stage? So we have to see it much larger. I mean, we're struggling now for water and food. What does Vision 2030 look like?
Dr. Emil, Vision 2030, what's your take on it as we look to close out the discussion?
I think Vision 2020 is a pie in the sky. Vision 2030, as is now, is a pie in the sky with no foreseeable delivery date. I think it's way beyond. It is not impossible. It can become Vision 2028, as Sir Dwyer said, but there's no meaningful approach with the absence of integrity, accountability, and things like that. Then it is not going to be a current reality, even though it can be. But with the level of corruption that we see, almost every ministry under this government, you find a high level of corruption, and that money could be better served to deliver to families, communities, education systems. Because I am much about education, because I know when you change the education spectrum, then you are going to be changing a nation.
Absolutely.
So education could be different. A lot more persons could benefit from education. And so, we need to see a system. We want a country, and we must demand a country and a political system and a politician that can stand up to the scrutiny, the most rigid and rigorous scrutiny of integrity.
And Dr. Emil, you speak about education, and I'll be guided by Mr. Nash. A few years ago, the current party indicated that students at the high school level do not need to pay school fees. they indicated something about if you want to make a contribution. It was regarded as a contribution, but was not compulsory. Am I correct, gentlemen? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
However, the contribution ranges from school to school. So the more high-end high schools are charging 35 up to maybe 40 something $1,000, right? Mr. Dwyer? So the more affluent high
$45,000 the
schools,
last one I heard.
right? Somewhere there most of them are between 35 to maybe 45. I don't know if there are others that are a little bit more. And the ones in the lower, I would say in certain communities, maybe they charge you something like maybe 8,000 to 12 or 8 to 15 thereabouts. Although it's a contribution and you're not required to pay it, at the end of the day, if your child reaches fifth form, they hold you at ransom for you to pay whatever is outstanding before your child. That is like a criteria in some institution to graduation. You know, that's just a reality. And where's the intervention? So you make a blanket statement. You don't have to pay school fee or you don't have to pay for medical care. But the reality is if you go to some hospitals and you're not making a contribution, the level of care that you get may be different from an institute, a hospital, for example, UWI, where certain things, they have the equipment, they have, you know, more infrastructure, but it's not free per se. You need to pay for it. Although they offer payment arrangements and so on and so forth, but I've not heard much said about certain aspects of the education by either party. I've not heard a lot being said about our healthcare, and the reality is not enough is being spent in our healthcare system. A person should be able to go to a public hospital, whether they have money or not, and get quality healthcare. That's where we need to go. You know, so the highfalutin promises, it may catch some, but I hope it don't catch the majority and persons look at what is the deepness of what is being said. Look below the surface, and make the right decision regardless of whichever party they want to vote for. But integrity is a big issue, and accountability and performance, of
Yes,
course.
yes, yes. And Owen
Sorry, go
Byfield,
ahead, Mr. Nash.
Owen Byfield, who's listening online, had pointed that out as well, that there is no accountability, and he says that's the problem. He also indicated that the whole matter of corruption is high on people's minds, right? And that needs to be something that needs to be addressed, whichever party wins at the next election. Those are some of his comments online.
Thank you so much for your comments, sir. We really appreciate it. And those are extremely valuable comments and concerns.
All right, and so as we are wrapping up inside of the election watch right here on NRP Radio, you'll see online where hopefully tomorrow I'll get my hands on fully on the results of the Don Anderson polls. We were hoping to have had that this evening, but unfortunately it's not with us in hand now. But on the posted online, the gleaned from the latest Don Anderson poll, saying that the opposition People's National Party has opened up a gap over the ruling Jamaica Labour Party with just 2 days to go before the election. The headline says that the party edges ahead as it reclaims support among the elderly, but 23% still undecided. I think this is information that we can utilize going into tomorrow's discussion. We'll be back here at 8 o'clock, 8:30 thereabout, where we're looking at other aspects of the preparations as we move up to Wednesday polls here in Jamaica. Madam Bishop.
Thank you so much. And because we're out of time, we will look at the leadership debate briefly and have a discussion around that as well as look at should we have a term or should it be indefinite?
Term limits.
Term limits, yes. In
Yes.
terms of our leaders, should it be 5 years, 4 years? Can we have repeat? Should one government serve for 20 years, for example? What are the benefits or the advantages and disadvantages of a term limit in our Jamaican context?
And of course, we will definitely make our way to the street to find from the man on the street what are some of his focuses, the areas of focus that they will have moving into this election. If they'll be just voting for the party, will they be voting for issues come Wednesday?
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who are online on our various social media platforms. Thanks to our in-house panelists, Mr. Joshua Dwyer, incoming Lieutenant Governor for Division 24, Kiwanis. And thanks to Dr. Filbert Emil, trainer, lecturer, pastor, consultant, counseling psychologist, my good friend. And thanks to Mr. Nash for having us tonight here. I'm Anne-Marie Bishop, looking forward to joining us tomorrow at 8 or 8:30 thereabouts as we continue the discussion on election 2025. Make your vote count. If you don't have your what is it, our voters ID card, you don't have a chance, you don't have a say.
Yes. And I would want to ask persons at this time, it's still not late. You can still call the electoral office come tomorrow. And of course, one of the things that I'm going to ask Madam Bishop to remind me of is to pull up those information from the electoral office come tomorrow as a start. We'll use that as a precursor to our discussion come tomorrow. Any information that is coming out of the electoral office of Jamaica, we can use that as a point of discussion as we move forward. But persons should call the electoral offices in your neck of the woods and to ensure that you know where you're going out to vote. Because the polls start at a particular time and will close at a particular time. You want to see if you miss one era, then you'll be able to make it to the other era to cast a vote before poll closes at 5.
Thank you so much. We'll allow Mr. Nash to close us out.
Indeed. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady. And of course, those of you who are online, those who will watch after we are gone tonight, we want to say thanks to you and keep it locked right here on NRP Radio and NRP Media. It's our Election Watch 2025.
Hello, NRP listeners. Join us on Election Day for the NRP Election Watch. Hear the panelists review the debates, look at the voter turnout, and give you the latest box-by-box and constituency-by-constituency count. Yes, it's an election like never before. Tune in on YouTube and Facebook at NRP Media JA and on our radio platform at nrpmediaja.com. Connecting you with our partners in the diaspora, KVRN Network and Gospel Expression Radio, NRP Radio and NRP Media, reaching you where you are, no boundaries, no limitations.
Thank you so much. And I want to say to all of you panelists, have a good night, and we will catch up again and come tomorrow. All right, take care, everybody, and thank you one more time. We head back now to Master Control with our regular programming. This is NRP Media and NRP Radio.
J-Win Pharmacy Limited, Samford Plaza in Spalding, Clarendon, the leading pharmacy in the area that specializes in pharmaceuticals, general over-the-counter items and cosmetics. They stock various self-care items and household items. Contact them at 876-956-0930 or 876-371-6781. Here to provide just what you need.
All right, thank you so much. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord be gracious unto you. Lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. This has been a great evening. Let's continue to share right here on NRP Radio.